Perhaps the number one question I get when I help people with sponsorships is how much should I charge? And so in this video, I'm going to talk about how to calculate your overall reach and not just rely on the industry standard, which is called CPM. So let's dive into this. First, the industry standard, CPM, that stands for cost per meal. And cost per meal is the dollar amount per 1,000 downloads. So if the CPM is 100, then you would get $100 for every 1,000 downloads. That means if you have 1,000 downloads, you'd get $100. If you have 10,000 downloads, you'd get $1,000. This pricing is problematic because most people don't get 1,000 downloads for their podcast, at least early on. And the industry standard is actually between $20 and $24 CPM, which means that you won't even make $100 unless you get 4,000 downloads. So what you want to do instead is calculate your overall reach. This is the reach across all of your online presences. Yeah, that's right. So you will look at how many Facebook followers you have or how many people in your Facebook group, your mailing list, X/Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, website visitors, other social media, plus the downloads you get. Let's look at an example. Let's say you get 50 downloads per episode, and we'll say in the first 30 days. On X, you have 3,000 followers. On Instagram, you have 450 followers, and you have a mailing list of 500. If we calculate your overall reach, that is 4,000. That means that you have 4,000 people in your audience that you can potentially reach. Now, I will say, for this first sponsorship, that's great. As you start to branch out and do more sponsorships, there are more advanced ways of calculating like how many people are actually opening your mailing list. What is your average viewer per video over on YouTube? How many listeners are engaged? But for this, for getting your first sponsor, we do want to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, so calculating your overall reach, let's look at a sample offer. You can do an ad read at the mid-roll of every episode for 3 months. You can have 3 posts on X each week that the episode airs. 1 Instagram post and 1 story that goes into highlights for the duration of the sponsorship, and a mention or integration in the newsletter every week that your sponsor sponsors the show. So that is a sample offer. I will say here that I think that you should create a few packages for your potential sponsors. I think that 3 is a really good way to start. So maybe like 1 package with a pre-roll ad and 1 Instagram post or something like that. The middle package, which could be our sample offer here, or a third package, which is a bunch of stuff, maybe a dedicated YouTube video and stuff like that. We want to take advantage of what's called the Goldilocks principle there. So you price the lowest one too low, or maybe not giving everything a sponsor might want. You price the third package really high, and if they say yes, great. But seeing that higher price will anchor them better to the middle package, which is the one that you want them to go with. So I do think you should create some packages, but here are some sample deliverables for if you're calculating your overall reach, not just, how many downloads your last episode got. Some people will refer to this as cost per acquisition, CPA, and that's priced based on potential conversions. But that's not really CPA, right? Because CPA is actually more like an affiliate. This is just you are a creator, you are helping promote a brand, generally bringing awareness to that brand, and you are using your entire reach. You may not have thousands of downloads, but you do have an engaged audience, and they are small but mighty. They are interested in what you have to say, and they really, really trust you. In order to best help with calculating your overall reach, I would say install analytics on your website on day 1. If you don't have a website, you should probably have a website, but most podcast platforms do support some form of analytics for visitors and stuff like that. Maybe the Facebook Pixel or whatever, but you want some way across all of these platforms to measure this kind of reach. Now, I will say that when I first created this course, analytics on social platforms were not nearly as good as they are today. And so I think that you're probably in a good spot across all of the platforms we mentioned. But if you do have a website, maybe you have a blog, make sure that you have analytics there as well, because that could be a crucial piece of the packages that you're putting together for your first sponsor. And your action item, calculate your overall reach. Where you have an audience should be included in your overall reach. Then brainstorm ideas for how you can get your sponsors in front of that audience. So if you have a mailing list, include a dedicated or integrated mention in your newsletter. If you have a YouTube channel, include a dedicated video or an integration, which is basically like a mid-roll ad for a YouTube video. Calculate your overall reach, figure out what kinds of deliverables you can have for your first sponsor based on that.